Morning, hello. Good afternoon, West Ham fans. So it seems like we're going to be scouring the championship for our transfer targets. Yes, everybody. Hope you're safe from all of us on the West Ham Network. Don't forget to like, share, comment, share, all that type of thing. Don't forget also, keep an eye out every day up until Christmas, well, including Christmas Eve, for the West Ham Network Christmas giveaway. We're having Advent videos each day. We've had Shaka Hislop for day 1. Day 2 was Tim Breaker. Day 3 was Julian Dix. Today's day 4 with Don Hutchinson. And all you got to do is comment, and you can win some lovely signed stuff, which will get sent out to you. And makes a really good Christmas present if you're struggling for Christmas presents for a West Ham fan. Just an idea. All you got to do. It's free. You don't have to be a patron. You don't have to be a member. Just subscribe, which is free, and just leave a comment. That's all you got to do. But it's Hammers Headlines Association with a KUMB.com. Boys, 3 stories, a couple of transfer stories, and one about the London Stadium. So let's crack on. With talking about I didn't mean to do that. It's Monday morning. Can you tell it's Monday morning? So let's talk about some potential signings. And it does seem that we're concentrating on the championship for our that's better for our signings coming into January. And apparently West Ham are keen to sign Leeds United loanee Sam Greenwood in the January transfer window after his impressive form for Middlesbrough on loan. We know that a striker is pretty much the priority for West Ham. It's quite obvious. And Greenwood, who's 21, might just be the man for the job. Also, we can lose several players to the AFCONs as well, with 3 of them being attacking players if they all get called up, the likes of Ben Rama, Maxwell Cornet, and obviously Mohamed Kudus, and obviously Naya Figuered as well. So we've been scouring the markets. Now we talk about Hugo Hugo. We talk about Hugo, Timo Werner, Sergio Garassi, many Boniface from Leverkusen, but apparently Greenwood is someone that we're looking at. He can play a number of positions. He's a very versatile forward, and we know that's a type of sort of preference for David Moyes. He doesn't seem to like people who have one position, which is good and bad at the same time, because obviously if someone's in multiple positions, you don't know what their best position is. Mohamed Kudus, for example, we know his probably best position is as a 10, but he plays him as a right. He plays him up front. He played him on the left yesterday as well. Now Greenwood fits into that category as well. He's actually an attacking midfielder by trade, really, but he can operate as an auxiliary striker as well. He can play on the either wing as well, and there is some reports suggesting that we are looking to swoop for him. He doesn't match the age profile. He's 21. He's young, and having playing other positions, he can slot in. Very useful squad player. He also helps with our homegrown quota as well. He started his career in Sunderland before moving to Arsenal in 2018, and then to Leeds. And currently he's on loan from Leeds at Middlesbrough. Michael Carrick, obviously, being the manager there. So far, he's bagged 4 goals and 2 assists in 14 championship games so far. And Middlesbrough pretty much know that if they don't, come January, if they're not riding high and a good chance of going up into the Premier League, they're not going to be able to keep hold of him. I know he's on loan, but the likelihood is they're not going to be able to keep hold of him. And several Premier League clubs are circling. The likes of us, Crystal Palace, are looking at him. He's young, he's hungry, full of potential. Might not be the stellar name that we want, but again, I think our transfer policy is changing. It's not about going out and buying the big name striker. It's about buying the right striker. And I think that's always been the issue. Ironically, he isn't a striker by trade. He's an attacking midfielder by trade. And ironically, our 2 most successful probably strikers under David Moyes' setup haven't been strikers in Mikel Antonio, Marko Arnautovic. So I don't see the fact that he's not actually a striker being a big deal for us, to be honest, at the moment, because he can play at so many different positions. And he's 21 as well. And you've got to think of him, with Obama as well. We've got some really young, hungry, homegrown options potentially for the end of this, coming up to the end of the season and for going forward into next season as well. Sticking with the championship, obviously, so we got the forward position is one issue. I think another issue coming up is going to be our left back issue. We've got Emerson, who's fantastic. I think it's one of our best signings over the last couple of years. But Aaron Cressel's leaving. He's coming to the end of his usefulness. He's out. He's going to be out of contract in the summer. Obviously, we offered him a 1-year extension last summer, and so we've been scouring replacements for him. We've spoken about Adrien Truffet from Rennes and a number of other players as well. But according to ex-WHU employee, West Ham have a strong interest in the Ipswich defender Leif Davis and see him as a long-term replacement to Aaron Cresswell. Ironically, obviously, we brought Aaron Cresswell from Ipswich in 2014, I think it was. And I mean, he's a fantastic young British player, that's for sure. He's 23 and his stock continues to rise. I think it's more likely a summer switch than a January switch, particularly with Ipswich doing so well in the championship at the moment. He can play, and again, there's that sort of ability to play in a number of positions. He's a left back by trade, but he can also fit in as a centre back as well, a bit like Aaron Cresswell did the last few years ago. Has been on a wonderful streak of form as well. 11 assists in 18 appearances for Ipswich across all competitions. In fact, former West Ham Hammer of the Year, thrice winner, Scott Parker described him as an animal. So there we go. He averages 1.8 tackles, 1.1 interceptions per fixture in the championship. Now, obviously, they're in a fantastic time at the moment in terms of Ipswich, but him as an option as a 23, hungry, homegrown. I can see, I can see it being a good fit. Him, the likes of Newcastle, I could see maybe going. He's a Newcastle lad as well, so it's the type of thing that maybe the championship for our potential, for our potential targets, to fit in various positions. And I do like Leif. I think he's a great player. Anyone who watches Ipswich, he's a really dynamic left back, and I think he'd suit the system really, really well. I think he'd be, again, left back for many years to come, potentially, for whatever club he goes to. And last but no means least, let's talk about the London Stadium. Now, a report in the Daily Mail yesterday, I think it was, has suggested that West Ham are looking to expand to make the London Stadium 68,000 capacity on match days, which will make them the second largest Premier League ground behind Old Trafford. So adding another 5,500 supporters to each game. We've apparently had agreed an informal plan to see the number of supporters increased to 68,000, but licensing regulations mean the capacity is currently limited to 62,500. Despite the stadium being able to hold over 68,000. Taking the annual putts would have the second largest stadium in the Premier League. It sounds crazy, really, to me. Now, one not flying, but one benefit actually with the increased, obviously, capacity. We spoke about a while the MSG group and the Sphere project, and that got poo-pooed by Sadiq Khan. However, Michael Gove has jumped in from the government and has sort of vetoed that and has taken that proposal to the government and gone above Sadiq Khan's head, so to speak, in the quest for maybe granting planning permission for the Sphere in Stratford. Now, that actually could really benefit West Ham fans in that, as part and parcel of the Sphere proposal by MSG, they were going to invest a lot of money into the infrastructure, travel infrastructure, increasing the size, the capacity of the roads and the paths, and because another 20 or 25,000 people would be there. So that and an increased 68,000 people going, Christ, we can barely, we have the stop-start signs already at 62,500. What's it going to be with another 5,500 people? Actually, with the Sphere turning up as well, we'd have more infrastructure in place to be able to potentially cope with an increased capacity as well. So we'll keep an eye on that as well, because that can make a huge difference for West Ham fans going forward, as well as a massive dome for match days. Just imagine, we could love it. The Allianz would probably sponsor that as well, wouldn't it? We'll get it all. Allianz, Queen Elizabeth Park. Sounds perfect. And that's it, my friends. That's it, my friends. That's the Hammers headlines for today. As I said, please check out neesandmotherbrand.com for all their news, reviews, forums, all that type of stuff. If you fancy some beer, particularly after yesterday's game, to be honest, don't forget beer52.com/West Ham. Get yourself some Christmas beers. All you have to do is cover the postage of £6, £5.95, and you get 8 exclusive craft beers. Until then, take care, stay safe, stay warm, stay humble, keep the faith, and come on, you bloody irons.